I thought I already did it with the whiskey thing.
Welcome to another edition of the Gentleman Fantasy Podcast. I'm Kyle, your host, and with me,
Also, I need more whiskey.
Robert Rushlow. Robert, what's happening, bud?
I mean, I'm still alive in guillotine. I didn't expect that. So, hey, here we are.
That makes two of us. We're both still alive. I shouldn't be. Let's just leave it at that.
Are we just going to get to the end on sheer luck? Is that how this actually ends up working?
At this point, honestly, my strategy in the Guillotine League is I am going to see how far I can continue to limp along and not spend money. Because if I can make it like 2 more weeks, I feel like I may be able to just cherry pick whoever the rest of the season. I don't know. My team on paper looks okay. And then I get like 3 guys each week that don't score any points. And somehow I've squeaked through like second to last in points. I want to say like 4 or 5 of the 7 weeks.
Yeah, I've been nervous every time. I've been in the bottom 4, I think, almost every week.
Yeah.
I like how the guys on top just aren't spending money and they're just chilling. They're like, this is great. We'll just wait and just slowly let everyone bleed out.
Yeah. And then Jason, on the other hand, Jason decided that he would spend his last dollar on Calvin Ridley.
That was strange. Like, I get the Ridley move because maybe, we'll get into that in a little bit, but you want to keep that buck. I feel like
that buck was important. I mean, he may need to, like, have a defense or a kicker. I mean...
Yeah, what if your kicker breaks his leg? You can't even make a move.
I don't know.
Nothing. You have nothing.
No moves.
That's wild.
I'm confused on that one, but hey, here we are. By the way, his team's better than both of ours. So what are we saying? What do we know?
And we know that you love Calvin Ridley. So what you would have spent your last buck on him too.
We'll talk about him later, but we have some breaking news. The Packers have a new kicker, and that new kicker kicked a game-winning field goal the first game. Congratulations, Brandon McManus.
Yeah. Our new kicker, turns out, can kick.
He knows how to kick field goals.
He made it twice.
Yeah, so that was pretty exciting. I did not realize how bad the former Packers kicker, that's terrible. I almost forgot his name already.
I don't remember it either.
We're sorry. Braden Narvison.
Oh, yeah, there you go. We're professionals.
Yeah. I felt bad for him because I was like, man, he was a rookie. It was like a miracle that he made the team, and he literally disappeared. And less than a week later, neither of us could remember his name.
we usually hang on to kickers longer. It's not our fault.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I did not realize the stats of him never not having made a 50-plus yard field goal yet, and the fact that his percentage was as low as it was. So that was kind of surprising to me, especially considering you got kickers on other teams that are just drilling like 60-yarders like they're going out of style, and we didn't have a guy who could kick a 50.
Yeah, it always seems like every other team just pulls these guys out of obscurity, too. It's like, who the hell is Blankenship? What is that? And all of a sudden he's like, right. Awesome. Young Who Koo? Where did he even come from? And then he's just an awesome kicker.
No, I want to talk about Koo, because for some reason his name is spelled Young Ho, but everyone calls him Young Wei Koo. But Young Wei is not spelled anywhere near what the actual spelling of his name is. So I would like to know a little bit about, I don't know, whatever ethnicity he is. I'd like to understand a little bit more of the pronunciation of words, because that didn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, it's the Y and the O's are all silent, and you just insert sounds that don't make sense. Yeah, it's pretty common logic.
I mean, it's true. I mean, we do speak American English, which there are weird spellings and letters that don't exist. Yep. Anyways,
it's all up to interpretation.
The Packers played the Texans last Sunday, and man, That was a fantastic game. I enjoyed every second of it.
It was a nail biter. It had all the drama and awesome plays on both ends. It was pretty cool.
Uh,
I'm not used to us pulling through post Rodgers on those games where it's like, oh, we just fucked it up. Like Love was actually clutch despite having struggled in that game, and it was nice to see us just be like, you know what, not a problem. We're down. We got a minute. Let's fucking just work our way up like responsible adults and get this thing done.
You know, and I listened to some analysis after that game of the Packers-Texans game, and there were analysts saying that the Packers won despite Jordan Love and that Jordan Love had a terrible game. And I mean, okay, I guess Love threw a couple picks, but I didn't ever get the feeling that he was playing terrible. I didn't ever get the feeling that we were out of it. I don't know. I was kind of surprised that the reaction was that from some of the national analysts.
Yeah, picks are part of the game. And as an analyst, you have to create drama. Obviously, Love going into the end of last year looked unfreaking believable considering, his amount of in-game experience. So I think they're holding him to a standard maybe they should have brought down just a little bit based off his run at the end of last year. But I think he's going to be just fine. You're going to have picks. You're going to have, rough games against decent defenses. We beat the Texans. The Texans looked really great coming into this week. That's a big win. I don't think any amount of mistakes should disparage us from thinking that Love or the Packers offense will be all right. Jacobs seems to look good. It's fine.
Yeah, speaking of Jacobs,
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
Josh Jacobs scored his first receiving touchdown in his NFL career. Congratulations to Josh Jacobs.
Turns out the Raiders didn't want to throw to him in the end zone at any point in his dominance.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. He's had the most carries of any running back in the history of the NFL to never have a touchdown, and now the most carries before getting his first receiving touchdown. Pretty impressive. You almost have
maybe
to try.
He has this weird hand-eye coordination thing or something where he literally can't catch the ball very well, and he told the coaches hey, I'll do my best to be your running back. Just don't throw to me, and we'll be okay. So they just never did.
I don't know. I don't quite get it because that seems like the amount of usage that he's had over the span of his career. It would seem like it's almost like he was trying not to score a receiving touchdown to not score one. It doesn't make sense that it would have gone that long. Moving on here, we have some bad news.
Bring out Jennings!
That's
this
right.
Is getting way too common.
We have injuries, and my God, we have two.
It's just big name after big name. It never ends.
And on top of that, it's two of the better receiving cores in the NFL just got annihilated completely. You got Mike Evans going down with the re-aggravation of his hamstring. Chris Godwin had a just gruesome dislocation of his knee or of his ankle. I mean, Deebo Samuel, I guess, has pneumonia and was in the hospital. Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL and MCL. He's going to be out for a while. The 49ers and the Buccaneers receiving core just got decimated. And on top of that, that kills two of the better quarterbacks yardage-wise, fantasy-wise in the league with Baker Mayfield, who's been having a phenomenal year, and the guy who was leading the league in passing yardage in
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy, correct.
Yeah, it's gruesome. It is such a bad year for across the board. Just everybody's getting hurt left and right, whether it's temporary, the little AJ Brown things, or Godwin was the best receiver in football this year. He's gone. Fantasy wise, I had him in my guillotine league. That's going to cripple the shit out of me. I was just starting to hit my stride in guillotine where I was starting to get just a little bit comfortable. I was like, man, I got Saquon. I got this fucking Godwin's going nuts. I'm looking okay. No, the fantasy gods were like, oh, hold on, Robert. You have your place in this world. And it is not winning something.
it kind of floors me. I don't think it's funny that the running backs used to be like, oh, every week another running back's getting a knee injury, another week's tearing an Achilles, something like that. This year it just seems like every good big name wide receiver has missed 2, 3, 5 weeks. I mean, you pick a guy. Everybody's had issues.
All of them.
Yeah, and if we're gonna speaking of Cup, let's talk about some trades. DeAndre Hopkins got traded, or is in the process of getting traded to the Chiefs.
Yeah, that blindsided me, but it also like kind of makes the most sense in the world. Like if you're the Chiefs, you're like, we need, talented receivers. Mm-hmm. Obviously Hopkins is older. He has an injury history, but I can't imagine he'll be kind of cheap. The Titans are looking at their team and they're like, look, we don't have it with Levis. We don't have it in general.
Yep.
Why don't we just shop this out? They already got rid of Henry. Like, let's just fucking rebuild and see what we can get for the last vestige of these old guys that are talented.
And speaking of that, it looks like that's the same route that the Rams are going to go. It looks like the Rams don't have the team this year to do it. Maybe next year Stafford's retiring. I don't know what's going on here, but they must know something to be shopping Cooper Kupp. And they literally just like posted it on a billboard. Hey, we'll trade Kupp. You give us a second. We'll work on the details of the contract. Just, hey, let's do this. It was kind of odd that it just came out of nowhere. For some reason, literally like my whole receiving core on my fantasy team's getting traded now.
I mean, hopefully they had the decency to tell Kupp it was coming. But to your point, that's actually very good. Maybe there is something with Stafford where he's like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. The team is kind of falling apart. Aaron Donald is gone, and maybe the Rams just go, you know what? We won a title with this core. Let's just start afresh. Let's rebuild around Puka and this, this running back we got who might actually stay healthy, and Kyron Williams, and just fucking purge the aged out, talented guys.
I got a feeling that's where they're going. And speaking of rebuilding and rebuilding around someone else, now it is finally opened up for the Tennessee Titans to rebuild around Will Levis and Calvin Ridley.
I have nothing for that.
So, Robert had Ridley for a while in the beginning of the season, and Ridley just fucking shit all over Robert's face. And then
he is the Riddler.
And then when I had to make my panic, holy shit, I need to pick a guy up, I was like, come on. There's no chance that Ridley can't be at least decent. Well, there was a chance, because the week that I had him, turns out he was 0 for 9 on receptions that week. And he had 1 carry for 5 yards for a total of 0.5 yards, 0.5 points. And when he was questioned after the game, the reporter questioned him and said, hey, well, Kelvin, you had 9 targets. And he said, yeah, well, how many targets did I have in the first 3 quarters? He goes, I got to get the ball if someone, if I'm going to be able to make an impact. And they're like, well, you got 9 targets. He goes, yeah, how many of them were in the fourth quarter? By the way, this was in the fourth quarter of a 3-point game, and he was pissing and moaning that he didn't get the ball. Well, maybe Kelvin, maybe you should catch the ball. Maybe that would help. Maybe if you actually helped your team, maybe you get the ball some more. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, Kyle. I have watched almost 0 Tennessee Titans footage this year. So in Calvin's defense, Levis could just be sailing these fucking throws over the top of his head, and they might count as quote unquote targets, and he might just have no chance to catch them. I could throw at a guy's ankles, and I technically targeted him.
I will tell you, I have not watched a lot either, but Levis's throws cannot be any worse than Anthony Richardson's, because my God.
I mean, he has no problem hitting a safety or a corner right in the hands, so I imagine he can't be that inaccurate.
There was the greatest, worst matchup of all time this last week, which involved the Colts and the Dolphins. And between Brent Hundley, what is it? Wrong Hundley.
Oh man,
I don't remember what the other Hundley's name. Anyways, between Hundley and Anthony Richardson, I have not seen a worse quarterbacked game from two quarterbacks ever in my life. Anthony Richardson couldn't find the hands of any of his receivers, and Hundley was no better. And that was literally the reason why my guillotine team was just god awful. I mean, when you got Miami players and you got Colts players and none of them can get the ball, it just had zeros all the way up and down the board. It was fucking disgusting. I can't do it much longer. I'm honestly considering dropping Tyreek Hill. What good does he do me?
Yeah, talk about the biggest. I mean, honestly, the biggest bust of the year has to be Tyreek Hill, considering where you got him.
And it's not even Tyreek Hill's fault. It's not even his fault.
Right.
Tyreek Hill couldn't get a pass thrown to him until the final drive of the game. They were playing the Colts, people.
Right.
Why are you not just throwing him the ball every fucking time? I don't get it.
They could really change it up and line him up at safety, and then Will Levis could throw him a bunch of passes, and he could catch those and just run them the other direction.
I don't know. I'm so confused. They say that Hawk Tua's coming back, and he's not going to wear a skull cap or a beanie or whatever the hell they're calling it now.
Guardian helmet.
Yeah. I mean, jury's out on what's going to happen with him, but I mean, if he got a concussion by literally touching DeMar Hamlin, like he led his head into DeMar Hamlin and got a concussion, I can't imagine anyone tackling him. Like, if you tackle him, he's going to get a concussion. I don't understand what's going on here. I understand he has his own, he can make his own choices. He's an adult. He's a human being, whatever. But I almost can't watch him play anymore.
Yeah, he made some pretty reckless comments as far as the Guardian cap stuff and playing football and things like that. He basically said, without saying, if I die playing football, fine. It's what I love doing, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And
okay, dude.
And he's got a wife and I think some small children at home, too. I can't imagine.
That's what I'm saying. Imagine being them. And
I
being
can't
like,
imagine
wow,
thinking that way. You know what I mean? Like in my situation in my life now, I can't imagine thinking the way he's thinking right now. It blows my mind.
I mean, I imagine everyone in his family, his parents, his wife, took out an insurance policy on him for sure, like a life insurance policy. Because I mean, I don't know. He might be getting plus odds, maybe even negative odds at this point of that hitting.
I don't even know.
Not to make it a game. Can we get one of these gambling websites to put up the odds on Tua dying this year on the field?
Yeah, I don't even want to know what that line would be. Well, anyways,
I'm sure it's plus, but I mean, it wouldn't be like obnoxious, like a plus 440 or something.
I don't know. Speaking of, oh man, let's change the subject.
No, hold on. No, let's keep it there. Can you imagine being the guy that walks into a party like, guys, I just made $500 because Tua died, and everyone's just like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, we're gonna move on here to our next topic.
How was school?
Worst day of my life. What do you think?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, the Jets, and Davante Adams. That party ended real fast.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Everyone was excited about Adams heading to the Jets, and boy, Aaron Rodgers and his interceptions and his third down incompletions and Davante Adams shaking his head on the sidelines. You know, every time something happened, it just pans to Davante Adams and his dumb face. Just everyone staring in disbelief. It blows my mind. What a great game. I enjoyed watching every minute of that game.
You know what's funny is Aaron Rodgers, historically, I don't know if he still has the record because he's been doing his best to light it on fire, but it's the most accurate quarterback in history. Apparently, the highest QBR in history, all that stuff, all the metrics that are tied to being efficient as a quarterback. And yeah, to your point, it's just funny that they were just like, all we need is Davante Adams and we'll be just fine. And
it didn't matter.
You have to. There's too much more to football. There's fundamental problems with how they're playing the game today. And maybe it's because the system that worked when it was Rodgers, Adams, Hackett, whatever, all those guys, what is it, like almost 4 or 5 years ago now?
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
It's tired. It's predictable, and the corners and safeties of today's NFL are just too good, and they know what that looks like. You have to run better schemes. So, it almost seemed a little too predictable.
Yeah. And quite honestly, the only winner on this whole Jets thing is the fact that last year it looked like Alan Lazard was on his way out of the league, and Alan Lazard is a legitimate, kind of. If you look at his stats, he's a solid wide receiver this year. So apparently Lazard just needs Rodgers. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think anyone needs Rodgers anymore. I don't think anyone needed Rodgers for a few years now. I was trying to say this way back in the day, and you were all Team Rodgers, and everybody was mad at me because I said fuck that guy, and everyone was, well, the Packers organization made him all upset and stuff like that. But just look at him. It's a fucking shit show every step of the way, and he creates it. He literally looks for this drama. He does it to his family. He does it to his football teams. He does it to his management. He does it to everything he touches. His fucking girlfriends. Like, look at his life. It never stops with him, and it's his fucking fault. So fuck that guy.
Well, speaking of Aaron Rodgers and the Jets party.
Everyone's laughing and riding and cornholing except Buster.
Yep, everyone was cornholing except for Buster, and that Buster in this equation is Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh's now with the Packers, Rob. How do you feel about that?
I guess he's cheese-holing now. It's interesting. I don't know. I struggle to understand what his purpose will be. I think the report said he was brought in to evaluate the team's schemes and stuff like that and be like a consultant or something of that nature.
So I listened to the Matt LaFleur interview this afternoon, and LaFleur said that, of course, so him and Saleh are really good friends. Saleh got LaFleur his first coaching job when Saleh was in Houston, and so they've been very close. LaFleur was Saleh's best man, or vice versa. I can't remember which, in one of their weddings. And I guess the first phone call that LaFleur made after he heard the news, he called Saleh and just said, hey, take your time, enjoy, do whatever you want, but I would love to have you come to Green Bay and be a consultant and help us out with our schemes. And the way he's using it, because LaFleur's been a big supporter of Jeff Hafley and everything they've been doing on defense. The defense has been fantastic this year. They're leading the league in takeaways. And he has Saleh coming in, and Saleh is basically kind of auditing the offense, not necessarily from an offensive scheme point of view, but he's auditing it as a defensive coach. And as they're practicing the plays and working on the schemes, Saleh is giving LaFleur pointers saying, hey, if you run this play, this is how the defense might react. Or if you do this, this is how a defensive coordinator is going to adjust to this look or this move. Or you might want to put a guy over here because if the defense is in this scheme, that's going to be the weakness of the defense over here. So that's how they're using him on offense.
Yeah, I was all ready to make all these jokes, and you kind of crushed it by actually providing justification for why he did it. I was like, what's next? Are we going to bring in Jason Garrett to be a consultant?
So he can clap? So LaFleur can learn how to clap on the sidelines? Is that what we're going to do?
I had this whole thing lined up. I was going to name all these shitty coaches and bring up why they should be consultants for the reason exactly why they shouldn't be. And you just squashed it. Fine. It makes sense, I guess.
Well, there is, the wham stat for wins over Raheem Morris, but Raheem Morris turned it around. So, things do change, man. I don't think Saleh's a bad coach. I mean, he was in a bad situation. He was a great defensive coordinator.
Well, when the Patriots fire Mayo, we could bring him in to be a gauge of how soft or hard the team is.
Well, I think you mean Antonio Pierce there. Antonio Pierce with...
oh, you're right. I had him backward. No, wasn't it Mayo who said they were soft?
I don't know, but Antonio Pierce was talking about how people were were making business decisions, but he was also kicking a field goal when he was down 5.
Yeah, Mayo was the one who said the team is just soft.
Yeah,
I imagine he had successfully lost the locker room at that point.
Yeah, Anthony Pierce they went all the way down the field. They got to the 5-yard line and chose to kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th down to win to go ahead in the game when there was like a minute left and the chances of them getting the ball back were almost nothing.
Well, he was just trying to soften the blow. How bad it would look if you lost by 3 less points.
So
it makes sense to no one.
So it is basically halfway point of the season. We're 1 game away from halfway. Let's talk about our halfway point predictions. Now, before we get into fantasy predictions, I want to make one point. Let's talk about playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Now, you see, early in the summer, late in spring, I don't remember which one it was, I made a bet, which I thought was going to be a great bet at Oneida. I put money on the Packers to win the division. And let me tell you, the Packers are now in 3rd place. Last week they were in 4th place, but they're in 3rd place with a plus. I think, what is their differential now? Their differential's like plus 45, and they have the worst differential in the division. There's not a single division that's cumulatively plus 45.
Yeah, it's I still think they can do it. Honestly, I think they're good enough, and the schedule is not impossible. It's still in play. They're not that far behind.
I just didn't anticipate there being 4 teams in the NFC North that would have 4 fucking victories.
I thought the Vikings were garbage this year. I did not see that happening.
Yeah, well, we were wrong. We were wrong, man.
Yeah, the Bears, I wasn't sure. The Williams thing. It's like, okay, let's see what happens. I didn't have my hopes way up just because like Keenan Allen, fat Keenan Allen. They made a lot of weird moves. Everybody's just clicking. The Lions are still the Lions, which we kind of expected, but. Yeah, everyone else is like, what the hell is happening?
This was supposed to be a 2-team race. There's an outside chance that all 4 teams could make the playoffs.
Right.
Wouldn't that be wild?
The NFC North is just like the worst team in the NFC North is like the best team in the NFC now. Like, I don't know what's going on.
It's crazy. But yeah, there's some crazy point differential stats for the NFC North. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm kind of worried about my bet. I thought it was like we just got to beat the Lions. Well, apparently we got to beat everyone else too.
Yeah, it's certainly looking more challenging, that's for sure. But that's the beauty of making bets and taking weird risks, which we'll talk about later in this pod.
Yes,
I'm gonna blow your mind later.
You gonna take a weird one? Okay, good. All right. Let's talk about our mid-season predictions. Rob, what direction you want to go with these mid-season predictions?
Are we talking NFL or fantasy?
You decide.
Let's go NFL.
Okay.
So I still like the Packers. I think I like them as a wild card. But who's your favorite NFC and AFC team thus far? AFC is probably the Chiefs, I imagine. I can't see why you wouldn't say that.
The Chiefs and Ravens are the top 2 on my list. The Chiefs are scary in my eyes because they're really playing possum right now, and Mahomes hasn't been playing well, but they really haven't been asking Mahomes to play well. Mahomes hasn't really needed to play well. Their wide receiver situation may have gotten bolstered, but if you look at the team they won the Super Bowl with last year, everybody laughed at their weapons that they had last year. They were all unproven, and all of these weird players just showed up in the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs would be my number 1 team. The Ravens, just that offense looks fun. And those would kind of be my two teams there, I think. What about you?
I like the Amari Cooper Bills. I think that's not the worst, outside chance team. But to your point about the Chiefs, I was right on the same page. I feel like they tried to do this Hopkins thing as quietly as a team possibly could do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you almost get this weird feeling they're almost telling Kelsey like, hey, Just stay healthy.
Yeah,
bud.
I don't think they're really trying to use him. Like him and Mahomes.
Right.
I just don't see
I think
it.
so too. And they're going to have Pacheco coming back. Hunt looks decent. Like they're secretly like building this little, war chest of an offense. And what's crazy is how good their defense has been. They've kind of just gotten away with it. They're like, our defense is really fucking good. We're going to run the simplest fucking offensive schemes we can and just keep everything quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes playoff time, I can imagine
crank
a
her
world.
up a notch,
Yeah, just like switch it to 11. Okay, Kelsey, you're going nuts now. Hopkins, we just made a whole playbook for you. Pacheco's back. They're running the ball. They're throwing passes to him. It could just be a nut house. You could have Pacheco and Kareem Hunt in the backfield as split fucking running backs that are also receivers. Like, it's fucking wild, dude.
Yeah, and if you want to put one more team in there, the Texans have looked like a different team since getting Mixon back.
Yeah. It hurts not having Collins, but they certainly don't look bad.
Well, they looked like a very, very tough team that first week, or maybe it was a 2 week that Mixon was healthy, and then they just looked like a different team after he got hurt. And then the last 2 weeks, they've just offensively they've looked much different. I think that's a team to consider in the NFC. If Jaden Daniels is not going to be healthy, I don't know what to say about the Commandos, but I liked them offensively prior to that. There's in the NFC South, that's a crapshoot. I can't see any of those teams really doing anything. The NFC West, I loved the Cardinals coming into the season, but their offense has just been sputtering. The 49ers are beat up. The Seahawks, I don't have confidence in them. I think they'll be there in the playoffs. I just can't see them winning anything. The Eagles, I just don't know. The Cowboys, I don't know. It just keeps coming back to, if I had to make a bet for the Super Bowl, would you maybe just go to Oneida and bet the NFC North? Like, I wonder if that's a future bet. Can you bet a division to win the Super Bowl?
Right. Honestly, if I had a gun to my head, I'd probably say the Lions for the NFC North, or for the NFC. But it is interesting. It almost feels like one of those years where it's just some left field team that pulls it out. Like the Seahawks or the Packers are a good example of a team that's just good enough, in a year where the Niners are really struggling with injuries and the Eagles have been sort of disjointed. You could almost see a world where like the Seahawks just kind of slip through the cracks and win these games. And I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it's just who's going to go lose to the Chiefs. But it could be really interesting to see what team, like a wild card bid in this year's playoffs on the NFC side could be as good as a Super Bowl bid, in my opinion, because I don't think any of them are necessarily locks like that has been in other years.
Yeah, I as far as the NFC goes, I don't have any strong feelings on any teams, but there's definitely like 3 or 4 teams that I have strong feelings about in the AFC.
I do like the Bills a little bit, but the Cooper thing really intrigued me. If they could really hit their stride, man, that team it's just so dangerous when Allen gets going, but they just shit all over themselves every time it matters. It's hard to really believe.
I agree. Moving on to the League of Ordinary Gentlemen. Looking forward into the rest of the season here, what is your current take?
I did not expect Rathgaber's team to be this good.
Yeah, well, that Lamar Jackson score from last week really made a difference there. I think he had 140 some points total last week, and he looked like he was on pace for like 110, 115. And then all of a sudden I look at his score, I'm like, well, Lamar Jackson did throw like 4 touchdowns. But if you ask me right now, it looks like the best 3 teams are Kyle's, and somehow Depre's 7-0, but I don't think his team's that good.
It's wild. He just refuses to lose games. I mean, obviously he beat me, so that one doesn't really count. But
and he beat me on a day where for the first game of the year, Gibbs outscored Montgomery, and it was by a fair amount. And then he had to, try to rub it in my face. I wasn't gonna play that game. Depre just fucking disappears for 6-7 weeks at a time, and then just right when everything's going his way, he swoops in and starts talking all his shit.
He really did.
And I'm not about that.
He's been very vocal the last couple weeks when it really started, I think, to set in with him. Like, oh, I'm going to make the playoffs no matter what now. So he's getting it out of his system.
Now he's got to talk.
It's crazy. Yeah, he's starting Deontay Johnson for the Panthers. Like, it's just wild that his team just looks like this unlikely bunch, but I guess it makes a lot of sense.
His team right now is literally the Kansas City Chiefs of our league, where you're looking at him, you're like, well, he's really not doing anything, but he's 7-0. Like,
yeah, he's just sneaking past people, winning games, and that sometimes you have years like that. You got irritated the year when I couldn't lose a game, and I had the worst. I thought I had the worst team. Like, I was agreeing with you. You were so angry, and I'm like,
it's like, what's going on here? Why? And on the other end here, Rob, I'm sorry.
I think I'm going to have the worst record.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but you, Ryan, and Zach, I've never seen I don't recall there being a season where there were just 3 teams like 5 weeks in where you're like, man, I just don't know. And it's like 3 people that try hard. You know, none of the 3 of you are people who are just like, oh, well, I'm having a bad year, I'm just going to blow it off. You know, it's like you guys are continuing 100%. To try. Ryan's made 14 moves this year. He's doing everything he can. And nothing's really working for him.
Yeah. I care. I got the team from hell. Debo can't stay on the field. Chubb, whatever. I've been hoping he'd come back at some point here, but like Pacheco gone, Hopkins was whatever. ETN is the biggest disappointment on my team. Like, he might as well be Pacheco.
Yeah, I mean, if you own any Jaguar, they're a disappointment right now.
So that there you go. Like, my top 2 running backs that I came out of the draft with that I felt great about, gone, virtually useless. And my receivers, Malik Neighbors has been pretty cool when he wasn't concussed out of his mind, but it's just really frustrating. I put a lot of faith in the Kyler Rodgers thing. I knew I was taking some risk there. But yeah, wow. I have never, I don't think in my fantasy career have I had a team this just utterly fucking terrible. And I don't know what to do. I'm scouring waivers every week, and I'm looking and I'm like, what am I going to, the top quarterback, IR Tua. Okay, yeah. Fine. Russell Wilson, like, is that going to change my whole season? That's basically Kyler Murray. Like, I already have him.
Well, Russell Wilson. He blew his load against the Jets. I did not see that coming. I thought Russ was washed up. All of a sudden, Russ is doing everything he can to just stick it to the Jets. I was impressed. That was a hell of a performance. But back to the waiver situation here. I have to say, in all of the most recent years, I'm looking at the budget summary of our teams here, and I would say there is all but 3 teams have $70 or more left in their budget. Yeah. And it's halfway through the season. And the reason for that is there's like been no standout guys.
Yeah, there's not that one dude that's like, everyone go for him. And when there is, Luke spends his entire budget.
$53 on Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
Who's, likely not to score the rest of the year. I just
Luke will find a way to win regardless.
Yeah, I guess. He's down to $27. Jason's down to $5. Ryan's down to 16. Everyone else is in the 70s or 80s or 90s. And that's just literally because it doesn't seem like there's anyone to pick up in that league. Maybe we're all just getting really good at this waiver stuff, or maybe there's just nobody out there. I don't know.
I mean, I picked up everybody I really wanted. It's just not working.
Yeah, and let's pivot to the Guillotine League here. Now, our special Guillotine guest couldn't join us this week. I chatted with Amy earlier. She's going to join us on a week that you and I get removed. She is currently out of the area at this time.
Well, you don't have to talk about it, but she did tell me just recently it was okay for me to say what she was doing. She went to New York. They're holding a candlelight vigil for Aaron Rodgers' career and his future as a quarterback. It's been an emotional ride for her, being the biggest Aaron Rodgers supporter,
Yes.
even after he left Green Bay. And she did tell me that it was okay that I shared that with you guys.
Yes, and she did jump ship. She is no longer a Packer fan. She bought the Aaron Rodgers Jets jersey, and she went to New York to be with him in this time of loss. And when I say loss,
Sure.
I mean many losses, and there's many more to come.
You thought the NFC Championship game against the Seahawks was bad. Russ really fucking laid it down this time.
Yeah. So Amy couldn't be with us. She's actually out of town right now. But she's gonna check in with us on a different week. But she threw a couple of things out there. She wanted to state that her strategy for this season was to stay true to her favorite players, namely Mr. Aaron Rodgers, Travis Kelce, and Justin Tucker. She's also trying to not spend money on waivers because she wanted to stay solid to her draft picks. And then a few weeks in, she had a conversation with Jason when she realized that for this league, hanging on to your players and not picking people up is probably a mistake. I don't know if getting advice from Jason was the right person to get advice from there, because Jason tried to blow through all of his money in 5 weeks. But she said she enjoyed it, and she's looking forward to maybe doing it again next year.
Well, that's good, because, this is a fun league, and I was happy to have, people we know and love participating. So that's awesome. Yeah, to your point about Jason, he is clearly better than me at fantasy football, but yeah, I wouldn't take advice from me or him. You'd be better off knowing nothing at all.
At least not waiver advice.
Just throw darts at a dartboard.
Yeah, just don't be taking waiver advice. He's almost out of money in the Ordinary Gentleman League and the Guillotine League. He's completely out of money in a league that you need money to spend for players. So
you literally can't have $0. That's the only mistake you can make in a Guillotine League. And he made it.
I mean, just for fun, let's look at his team here, because I'm really intrigued here. What does he have left?
We talked about it so many times.
I know, but what does he have left for buys, I guess, is my next question here.
Oh God,
he's got Wicks and Jacobs coming up, Charbonnet, Bucky Irving's going to be on bye. ETN's not really a loss. Oh, week 14. Week 14 is going to be a problem for him.
Is that his week to lose?
His kicker and his defense are both on bye.
Oh no.
So that. I mean, that could be. He's interesting. He's also got the number 1 and number 3 kicker in defense.
Must have been carrying him. You know how those kickers get. I am well documented that you have a good kicker, man. You just can't lose.
Well, so I guess week 14 would be a bad week for him. In that, I mean, do you honestly see him making it that long when everybody else is just like raping other teams for their players?
I mean, he's out of the fight, so I can't see me lasting that long. But yeah, it seems pretty dire at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused. He's got Tank Bigsby on his bench, or never mind. Let's go back to this week. Yeah, he's got Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne, Jamison Williams, isn't he suspended
for 2 games? Yep.
Quentin Johnson's hurt. Charbonnet, Trevor Lawrence on his bench. He's got Caleb Williams and Justin Herbert at quarterback. ETN, Josh Jacobs, CeeDee Lamb, Kelvin Ridley, Dontavian Wicks.
That's rough.
I don't know, man. I feel like he's got to lose here. He's scoring points.
Like 3 of the worst quarterbacks, like in my opinion.
Yeah.
Wow.
But here's the thing: scoring wise, I don't think he's that far off. He's 6th in scoring. I don't know, man. He's got like 150 more points than I do. So what do I know?
Like I said to start this whole thing, clearly more than I did.
Yeah. So questionable moves, but I mean, who are we to say? Because we'd suck at this. So
yeah. That's why it's so fun that we're the analysts and the ones talking about it, because we are the worst players in the leagues that we manage.
But speaking of that FAAB report, now this is kind of interesting, being our first league year in the Guillotine League. It started with 16 people with $100 apiece, $1,600 total in the budget. We are now 7 weeks through, 7 weeks of 16, and we are at a grand total of $443 left. That's 27% of the total budget. And looking at who's on waivers this week, I'm willing to say we're going to be down to like 15% by the end of this week.
Oh, I guarantee it. There's going to be some moves. It's I didn't realize, I'm a moron, and I didn't look at the whole budget summary, and I looked at my $34 and I was like, God, I have to be one of the lowest teams left with money. And then I actually realized, holy shit, everyone's just kind of hovering around 50, so I'm not actually doing that.
You're not
bad.
that far off. Well, and that's kind of what I was looking at. I'm like, okay, do I splurge this week because I need players, or do I just do the exact opposite and see if I can hover for like 2 more weeks? Because if I can hover for 2 more weeks and still have $50 in my budget, I might just be able to cherry pick good players for like the last 4 or 5 weeks and build a viable roster.
Or the same players, like we said last week, like that same player that you didn't get for $20 might just turn around and be available.
Might just be there for $5 in 2 weeks because nobody has any money to spend.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious as to how this is going to work out. I mean, we have there's 6 people out, so there's 10 left, but only 9 people can spend money. And Joby's down to $9. So you're really at like 8.5 people that can spend money.
Yep.
So interesting analysis. We'll see what happens here. I'm kind of interested to know if everyone's just going to run out of money and the one who wins the league is just the person with money left at the end.
I think it's going to be like any other championship team. It's going to be a product of decent drafting, where you actually managed to hang on to 5 or 6 guys that were like really good, somehow didn't get hurt, produced the whole year. So you could, to our point this whole time, sort of wait, manage your spending, still win, not win, but not take last.
Yep.
It's a little of both. Drafting matters, but it's tough when you draft a team that sucks or gets hurt. You're in constant crisis mode, like I am every week, just trying to survive. Like I would have been gone weeks ago if Juwan Jennings didn't have a 40-pointer that first week he filled in for Debo. Like that's the only reason I still exist.
But I mean, quite honestly, the team you're drafting your team for like the first 6 weeks, and then after that, it's all right. Let's see the chips where they fall.
Right. I mean, look at my bench: Godwin, IR; McCaffrey, IR; Pacheco, IR. That shit matters.
Yeah.
Like, it's
seriously,
money I have to...
carrying guys on your carrying guys on IR is a big problem in a league like this, because when it comes to buys, you're going, okay, well, I'd literally have to play who I have, or I have to spend money on guys that I know I'm not going to use in a week or two.
Right. That's big time money I have to spend to replace those players, or I'm gone.
Yeah. And so it's fun. I like it. We've been saying it all year.
It's so frustrating, though.
All right. To the segment everyone has been waiting for.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Shirley, we are speaking about our bets for the week. Now, let's go back to last week. It was a huge week for us. Rob had a hit. He won. It was a 3-team parlay. He took 2 dogs on a money line, so he got plus odds. If I can find the right sheet of paper. Rob had plus odds on the 49ers and the Vikings. He took Cincinnati -6 over the Browns to win, plus 702. That's a 3-team win. That's a hit. Congratulations, Rob.
Hey, second week in a row against all odds, man.
Second week in a row. That brings your total score, if I can find the sheets of paper, your total, you were up 346. Now, I misspoke last week. I forgot to factor in your loss the first week. So I had said you were plus 446, but you were actually plus 346 because you'd won 446 the week before. And with another 702 added to that, you are up 1,048 on the season. Now, Rob, fun fact.
Hit me.
With spending $100 every week with the amount of weeks that are left, you can literally not finish ahead. Like you're gonna be ahead regardless.
Oh, I can't not finish it.
You can't. Yeah, there's 9 weeks left, and you're $1,000 up.
All right, I already won. So
You've won. You've won for the season. All right, done. You can lose every week going forward. Now, me on the other hand, I did a 4-banger, and I fucked up, man. I fucked up. I should have just had the guts to just roll with it. I got screwed the week before on the commies, taking a minus 7.5 line, and I had considered teasing it down to 6.5 to get under the 7-point spread. So I did the same thing. I teased 2 games down on actually 3 games down, 2 points on a 4-team parlay. I had the Bengals -4, the Eagles -3, the Bills -7, and the commies -6. So I ended up at a plus 634, which was less than your odds with 3 teams because you took 2 dogs. But I ended up winning that one at 634. I was down 200, so now I am up 434 on the season. So both of us are up on the season. We are 3-3 overall in our picks. Rob, I didn't expect either of us to win a fucking bet all season. Like, I thought this was futile. This was supposed to be a joke. How are we winning?
That was the problem. It was supposed to be a running joke that betting is stupid, and our whole argument about money lines versus parlays versus
completely
teasers.
Null and void because we're both idiots.
Yeah. No, turns out I'm actually really smart, and you're slightly less smart, but still able to make money. So
that's your opinion. But so
I guarantee your opinion, my opinion, and everybody at home's opinion is going to change when they hear this fucking banger I have put together. But I'm going to make you go first.
I just think it's funny because our argument here, the whole reason why parlays are fun is because, just like I stated with you, you can make $100 parlay every week all season long, and if you hit 2, you've made it so that you can't lose money during the season. All you got to do is hit 2, which is why they're such long shots.
That's my point, though. It's just fun. And at the end of the year, all I really aim for is a wash. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't need to make a ton of money. It's fun. It's fun to bet on teams. I win some, I lose some. It's fine. It's just a good time. That's why I do the money line thing. Sometimes I just want to think I know who's going to win and lose. The lines thing gets tough. I take them sometimes, but yeah, it's just a good time.
So here are my picks for this week. I did a 3-teamer. I got the Packers over the Jags. And so
money line?
Huh? Well, yeah, no, Packers -4 over the Jags. Now, I wanted, because you can take on the international betting sites, you can actually do an adjusted line, and you can adjust it up and get better odds. Boy. But, of course, Oneida sucks. You can't do that. So I had to take the -4. But I was planning on teasing it up to -6 to get better odds. They don't let you do that. You can only buy points. So I went with -4 Packers over the Jags. I got the Bills -3 over the Seahawks.
And be careful with those Bills.
You're afraid of the Bills. And I took the Texans -5 over the Colts because Anthony Richardson cannot complete a fucking pass.
You playing with fire with them Colts.
Okay. And I really wanted to stay with the Commandos because I've been betting them all season. But with Jaden Daniels being hurt, I didn't feel like I could do that. I took those 3 teams, and that was I forgot to write down what the total was. Let me look it up. You do yours.
Let me monologue for a second about Jaden Daniels, because I meant to touch on that when we were talking about NFC, and I completely forgot. I'm actually really disappointed. Not that I'm some huge Commanders fan or anything like that, but I actually was really excited at how cool and fun that team was. And Daniels just being this revelation of, just speed and talent and ability to throw deep accurately. It was just entertaining. I would have been fine watching them march into the playoffs and just be one of those fun teams.
Fact that they took a dumpster fire team and added one guy and didn't change the rest of their weapons and completely turned around a team that looked like had no offensive weapons into a scoring juggernaut.
Yeah, I struggle to think of any team that made that big of a change overnight. Maybe Cam Newton to the Panthers comes to mind.
Right, yes.
But there's not many more I can think of.
RG3 to Washington for that 1 year, which God, I hope Daniels doesn't turn into RG3, because man, what an electrifying player for 2 years, and then just, his knees fell apart,
That's actually an interesting comp. That would be terrible too, because it's the same team and they're like, not again.
Right.
Daniels is skinny. He is small. It's not crazy to think he'll be relatively injury prone with that kind of frame, but yeah, I hope not, man. He's just so fun to watch.
So I got it now. That's plus 581. Packers -4 over the Jags, Bills -3 over the Seahawks, and Texans -5 over the Colts. I took all 3 favorites in those games. Rob, what do you got?
Well, Kyle, because I'm a good sport and because I don't want to just run away with this thing, I found a way to get myself to plus 900. And you know how I did that?
All right, let's hear it. 7-team parlay.
7-team.
Come on. Teaser. Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa. Okay.
I'm playing in the fire pit that you built around me.
You're teasing. You're not supposed to tease that many teams.
Listen, check it out.
Okay.
I'll show you the path, all right? So, first team, I was looking at the Vikings-Rams game because I want to lose this teaser in Thursday night right away so I can get it out of my system.
It's always best to lose the teaser or a parlay on Thursday night so you don't have to worry about it.
On the first leg, and then it's over. All right, Vikings. Okay, this is a six-point teaser across the board here.
Yep. So just so that those of you listening at home that aren't familiar with the teasers, you take whatever the line is, and when you do a teaser, you get less odds. But every game that you tease, you take 6 points off of the spread. So if, for instance, a team is favored by 7 points, you take 6 points off the spread. They're only favored by 1 point now. So it's a 1 point. All they have to do is win by 2 instead of winning by 6 or 7. Sorry.
Right.
So
and using that logic, I couldn't stay away from these teams. So hear me out. Vikings Rams. So I adjusted the -3 line the Vikings had to a +3. So now I'm getting Vikings +3 at the Rams.
Now that should be a slam dunk, right?
Yeah, all they have to do is win or lose by less than 3.
Logically speaking, that's a slam dunk. That's how we always screw ourselves. But let's keep going.
This next one, Cardinals Dolphins. All right, I guess I'm playing with the Cardinals, which is terrifying.
That is scary.
The Cardinals are +3.5. So I teased them to +9.5 in Miami. I don't think
will Miami score 9.5 points is the question. Probably not.
Right. Certainly not 9.5 more than the Cardinals. There's no way. All right. Moving on. Ravens Browns. I teased the Ravens from a 9-point favorite to a 3-point favorite. They have to beat the Browns by a field goal.
Now the Browns might get a spark because they don't have Deshaun Watson, which, by the way, last week we marked everyone safe from Deshaun Watson. Everyone's literally safe from Deshaun Watson now.
Yes, thank God. And normally I would factor that in if they were playing an average team. Like they put up a decent fight against the Bengals last week. Still, the Bengals still covered, which helped me win my bet. But against the Ravens, I am not concerned. Not when I'm only taking 3 points off of it.
No, especially the way the Ravens have been playing.
Right. Next one, Philadelphia Eagles at Cincinnati Bengals. The Eagles were +2.5. I liked that all by itself, but now I'm getting the Eagles +8.5. Like they can lose, but they're not losing by that much. I watched the Bengals defense give up points to the Browns. They're going to give up points to Saquon and Jalen Hurts and those fucking Eagles. That's happening. I was just going to take the Eagles to win straight up if I didn't decide to do this teaser, but yeah, give me the Eagles +8.5 for days.
I love it.
Moving on. Green Bay, Jacksonville. I moved the Packers from what is now a -4 to a +2. No analysis needed there.
No, nothing.
All right. Jets, Patriots. Jets favored by 7.5 over the Patriots in New England. I shifted that to +1.5. So really all the Jets have to do is win that game. I think that's going to happen.
So this is the red flag for me here. Because if things don't go well for the Jets to start off, Drake May's been playing okay. I can actually see the Patriots pulling an upset here.
Jets have a real defense, though. You think Sauce Gardner's going to let Drake May throw all over him? I'm just saying, even if the Jets didn't have Aaron Rodgers in this game, I still think the Jets win by at least 1.5. That's why I'm not super concerned here. Breece Hall, they're going to win the game.
I'm going to mark this one as my red flag in here. And if you lose by just that one, I'll say I tried to say something.
Well, this one is my red flag because these fucking Bills, I shouldn't put in a bet ever because all I do is lose on the Bills. But here we are with the Bills in the danger zone. I took them and moved them from -3 in Seattle to +3. So as long as they can handle losing by less than a field goal, I'm okay. And there's my 7-team teaser for +900, the ultimate. They don't even let you put more teams in a teaser. This is the most you can. Like, if you try adding more, it tells you can't do it. I maxed out the system.
All right, so Rob's 7-team teaser, Vikings +3, Cards +9.5, Ravens +3, Philly +8.5, Green Bay +2, the Jets +1.5, and the Bills +3, total of +900. When you win this, Rob, you better have gone to Oneida.
Slight correction, Jets are -1.5.
The Jets are -1? They can't be -1.5.
Yeah, I shifted them from -7.5.
Really?
Yeah, that's how favored they are.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Okay, -1.5. My bad. So you're getting plus odds on everyone but the Jets, and the Jets was the one that scared me.
Yeah. What do you think?
We'll see what happens.
Did I blow your mind? Did I blow your fucking mind?
I love it. I'm rooting for you on this one. I love those crazy ones like that.
Crawls down in the dungeon like, holy shit, let's go.
Crawl's loving this. I was about to make a fleshlight joke, but let's not.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember when we were at Oneida last year for our birthdays, there was that guy who brought a $10 ticket to the counter, and it was like a 9-way parlay, and his $10 ticket paid out like $1,500, and we were like, whoa, that takes some nuts. I mean, he was only putting $10 on it, but man, could you imagine the intensity, the sweating that you would have had watching that last game, knowing you were 8 legs into a 9-leg parlay that was going to net you, plus whatever the odds were on that for $10 to win $1,500. Can you imagine being the jitters in that guy?
Yeah, it's got to be wild. And just to do that ticket was probably absurd. There was probably like 4 different sports involved in it. Like there was a hockey game and a basketball game and a fucking playoff baseball game, 2 football games, and maybe a college game. And he was just like, holy fuck, but you can find good odds all over the place. Like I found good odds last week with the Lions-Vikings game. I thought that was a little fishy. The Lions are a better team. Let the record say what it will, but that was obvious. So you could really build a banger that doesn't necessarily mean you're picking shitty bets or bad teams or impossible victories. It's just if you pay enough attention in the games you love, you can really pick out some discrepancies in these lines.
Yeah, and you got to be able to find the right ones and put the right ones together. But we'll see what happens this week.
I had enough whiskey. I made it to the end of the podcast without running out. Also, I need more whiskey.
Anyway, and by the way, since you've been drinking whiskey the whole time,
Ryan's puking, so just give me a minute.
Ryan's team's been puking all season. But with that said, I am on a mission. I need to make about 35 waiver claims in the Guillotine League. and it's 10:45 on a Wednesday night. We need to get out of here. Thanks for joining me again, Robert. This is the Gentleman Fantasy Podcast. Enjoy your week.
We're still alive, baby. Oh, Kyle, we're less than a month away. November 16th. New Skeet and Social Sig in Appleton.
We are doing that.